In the early 17th century, the 30 Years' War ravaged Europe, a brutal conflict driven by politics, power, and religion. As Swedish forces advanced through Bohemia, they looted castles, monasteries, and libraries, not just for gold, but for knowledge. Among the treasures taken during the 1648 sack of Prague was a manuscript unlike any other, bound in leather-covered wood, and so massive that it requires 2 people to carry. This was the Codex Gigas, Latin for giant book. Nearly 3 feet tall, it contains most of the Latin Vulgate Bible, though missing Acts and Revelation, surrounded by a vast collection of other texts, like Catholic exorcism rites as well as astrological calendars and zodiac tables. However, what captured imaginations for centuries was a single image, a full-page illustration of the devil. That image, paired with the book's mysterious origin, earned it a darker nickname, the Devil's Bible. A medieval legend claims it was written in a single night by a monk who made a pact with the devil. Modern scholars reject that story, but the uniform script and sheer size of the work remain astonishing. Who created it, and why? Was it a monument of monastic devotion, a medieval encyclopedia of sacred and secular knowledge, or something else entirely? Today, we open the Codex Gigas and uncover the real story behind one of the world's most extraordinary manuscripts. The main body of this video is divided into the following sections. Welcome to Occult Mysteries. I'm your host, Whispering Owl, and this is the story of the Codex Gigas. And if you're here for real history, no myths, no exaggerations, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more deep dives into the world's strangest texts. The Codex Gigas, often called the Devil's Bible, is a manuscript from the Middle Ages. Created around 1220 in Bohemia, modern-day Czech Republic, it is a monumental work, measuring nearly 3 feet tall and weighing over 160 pounds. The manuscript consists of 310 parchment leaves, crafted from the skins of approximately 160 animals, traditionally believed to be donkeys, though some researchers suggest calfskin may have been used instead. This immense volume was designed to be both a religious artifact and a comprehensive compendium of knowledge, combining sacred and secular texts. At its core, the Codex contains most of the Latin Vulgate Bible, although it notably lacks the books of Acts and Revelation. Surrounding the Bible are a wide array of texts, including medical treatises, historical documents, exorcism rituals, and astrological charts, reflecting the intellectual and spiritual concerns of the time. These diverse contents suggest that the Codex was more than just a Bible. It was a tool for understanding both the spiritual and physical worlds. One of the most remarkable features of the Codex is its full-page illustration of the devil, which immediately grabs attention. This, coupled with the Codex's sheer size and the mystery surrounding its creation, led to the enduring legend that it was written in a single night by a monk who had made a pact with the devil. While historians have debunked this myth, it remains an integral part of the manuscript's mystique. The true origins of the Codex are still a matter of debate. Some scholars speculate that it may have been a solitary effort by one monk, while others suggest that multiple scribes could have contributed. Despite the unanswered questions, the historical journey of the Codex is equally intriguing. The Codex's existence provides a unique glimpse into the medieval mind, where religious devotion and intellectual pursuit were deeply intertwined. It not only serves as a religious text, but also reflects the medieval tradition of gathering and preserving knowledge across various disciplines. The Codex's mysterious contents and origin continue to captivate scholars, fueling ongoing research. Now let's trace the journey of the Codex Gigas, from surviving war to traveling across Europe and becoming a manuscript shrouded in mystery and legend. The story begins in the early 13th century, around the year 1220, when it is believed the Codex was created at the Benedictine monastery of Podlazice, located in what is now the Czech Republic. Although the true identity of its creator remains unknown, tradition holds that a single monk, possibly with assistance, undertook the monumental task of writing this manuscript. The core of the Codex consists of the Latin Vulgate Bible. Still, it also contains a wide range of other texts, from medical treatises to astrological tables and even Catholic exorcism rites, making it an encyclopedic volume of medieval knowledge. Throughout the 14th and 15th centuries, the Codex likely remained within the Bohemian region. While concrete records from this time are scarce, scholars believe the manuscript was either housed in Podlasice or moved between nearby monasteries. Given its extensive content and immense size, it was almost certainly used by monks for both spiritual instruction and academic study. By the 15th century, the Codex began to appear more frequently in historical records, though much of its journey during this period remains speculative. The manuscript's fate took a dramatic turn in 1648 during the final days of the 30 Years' War. As Swedish forces sacked Prague, they looted many of its cultural and scholarly treasures, including the Codex Gigas. The book was taken back to Sweden as war spoils and placed in the collection of the Swedish Royal Library in Stockholm, where it remains to this day. From that moment on, the Codex was no longer just a religious manuscript. It became a national curiosity. Famous for its enormous size and the eerie full-page illustration of the devil, which led to its enduring nickname, the Devil's Bible. By the 19th century, scholarly interest in the Codex began to rise. In the early 1800s, scholars began to take a more serious approach to examining its origins and contents. It was during this period that the now famous legend emerged, that the manuscript had been created in a single night by a monk who made a pact with his devil. Although there is no historical evidence to support this claim, the story captivated both the academic community and the general public. In the 20th century, the Codex Gigas became the focus of more rigorous scholarly study. Researchers applied modern scientific tools, including carbon dating and paleography, to analyze its components more accurately. The 1950s through the 1970s saw the development of more advanced historical techniques, including detailed examinations of the parchment and ink, which confirmed the manuscript's authenticity and helped refine its estimated date of creation. In the 21st century, the Codex Gigas remains a subject of intense fascination. Digital imaging technologies now allow researchers to study its pages in high resolution without risking damage to the fragile manuscript. Since the 2010s, the manuscript has also become more accessible to the public thanks to digitization efforts, making it available online for global study. The Codex Gigas, often referred to as the Devil's Bible, is renowned not only for its sheer size, but also for the vast array of texts it contains. The manuscript, comprising 310 parchment leaves, combines religious, historical, medical, and astrological writings, providing a unique glimpse into the intellectual and spiritual concerns of the 13th century. The Codex includes most of the Bible, excluding the books of Acts and Revelation. This omission has sparked curiosity and speculation among scholars about the reason for its exclusion. Some suggest that the absence of these books might have been due to the specific religious or theological intentions behind the manuscript's creation. In contrast, others argue that it was simply a transcription error or a deliberate act to focus on other scriptural themes. The Bible, as the centerpiece of the Codex, would have been the primary spiritual and liturgical guide for monks and religious scholars. Its presence in the Codex reinforces the manuscript's intended use as a sacred text and a tool for religious devotion and instruction. In addition to the Bible, the Codex Gigas also contains a range of historical writings. These include works detailing the history of the world, often blending biblical narratives with secular histories. The inclusion of such texts highlights the medieval belief in the interconnectedness of sacred and secular knowledge. Histories of the Jewish people, as well as general chronicles, would have been part of the monastic educational efforts in helping monks and scholars understand the broader context of biblical events and the history of civilization. One of the key texts within the Codex is the Chronicon, a historical chronicle of the early world and the Christian Church, providing a view of the world from a Christian medieval perspective. These historical texts would have served not only as a religious resource, but also as an intellectual tool for understanding the world's history in light of Christian teachings. The Codex Gigas is notable for its inclusion of medical treatises, reflecting the medieval interest in healing and medicine. Monks, often trained in basic medical knowledge, would have used these texts as guides for treating various ailments. The inclusion of medical writings suggests that the Codex was intended to serve a practical purpose, assisting monks in caring for the sick and needy within the monastery and the surrounding community. The medical texts included in the Codex range from practical advice on herbal remedies to theories of bodily humors. These works reflect the medieval understanding of health and disease, heavily influenced by classical Greek and Roman medicine, which remained prominent during this period. For example, the treatises on medicinal plants and remedies drew from ancient texts by Hippocrates and Galen, both of whom were foundational to medieval medical practice. Another important section of the Codex Gigas is devoted to exorcism rituals. These writings reflect the medieval church's preoccupation with the supernatural and its belief in the power of exorcism to rid individuals and places of evil forces. The inclusion of these rituals further enhances the manuscript's reputation as a work concerned not only with spiritual matters, but also with the darker aspects of the supernatural realm. The exorcism rites contained in the Codex offer insight into the medieval mindset regarding demonic possession and spiritual warfare. Monks and priests would have used these rituals to confront and expel evil spirits, particularly in cases of possession or misfortune believed to be caused by malevolent forces. The rites, written in Latin, are designed to be recited during exorcisms, showcasing the Codex's dual purpose as both a religious and practical manual. The Codex Gigas also includes several astrological charts and zodiac tables, reflecting the medieval fascination with astrology and the belief that the positions of the stars and planets could influence events on Earth. Monks commonly used these astrological texts to predict the future, choose favorable dates for events like baptisms and weddings, and understand the cosmic forces believed to govern human affairs. Astrology played a key role in medieval scholarship and religion, as it was believed to offer insight into God's plan through the study of the heavens. The inclusion of these charts in the Codex Gigas suggests that it was not only a religious tool, but also a means of seeking practical guidance for everyday life. Monks and scholars would have used these texts to discern God's will and the spiritual significance of earthly events. One of the most iconic features of the Codex Gigas is the full-page illustration of the devil which appears on one of the pages. This striking image depicts a monstrous figure, often considered to be Satan, surrounded by flames and demons, creating a vivid and terrifying portrayal of evil. The devil's figure is depicted in a highly grotesque and exaggerated form, unlike traditional medieval depictions, contributing to the unsettling aura of the manuscript. This illustration is unique in its boldness and prominence within the Codex. It occupies an entire page and serves as a visual centerpiece, contributing to the manuscript's reputation as a work of dark fascination. The inclusion of this image alongside the other contents of the Codex has led to speculation about the manuscript's intended purpose. Some scholars have suggested that the illustration was meant as a warning or a reminder of the consequences of sin, while others believe it was part of a larger religious context aimed at portraying the struggle between good and evil. The association of the Codex Gigas with the devil has only added to its mystique. The legend that the manuscript was created by a monk who made a pact with the devil, often said to explain the sudden and miraculous completion of the Codex in one night, has contributed to its nickname, the Devil's Bible. Despite modern debunking of this myth, the image of the devil remains a central and powerful element of the manuscript, one that has fueled centuries of speculation and intrigue. The Codex Gigas has a long and complex history. Over the centuries, numerous theories have emerged to explain its creation, purpose, and mysterious contents. In the following section, we'll explore 4 of the most prominent theories, examining the core idea behind each, along with the supporting and counter-arguments. The first theory, and arguably the most famous, claims that the Codex Gigas was created by a monk who made a pact with the devil. According to the myth, a monk facing punishment for a serious transgression sought the devil's help to complete the manuscript in a single night. The monk allegedly finished the massive codex with the devil's assistance in exchange for his soul. This legend is believed to explain the codex's size and the inclusion of a terrifying full-page illustration of the devil, which has long been associated with the manuscript. The sheer scale and the mystical nature of the codex, coupled with the legend of its creation, have contributed to its nickname, the Devil's Bible. The most compelling support for this legend is the dramatic devil's illustration in the codex, which portrays a monstrous, grotesque figure. The prominence of this image, which occupies an entire page, creates an eerie and visually striking centerpiece in the manuscript. Furthermore, the story of the manuscript's creation, supposedly in one night, resonates with the codex's grandiose size and complexity. The notion that such a vast and intricate work could be completed so quickly by a single monk without supernatural assistance adds an element of mystique to its creation. The legend, which has been passed down through the centuries, paints a vivid picture of the monk's desperation and the supposed power of the devil to assist him in such an impossible task, fueling the narrative that the Codex is not just a book but a supernatural artifact. Historians have firmly debunked the legend of the monk's pact with the devil, citing no historical evidence to support the claim that the Codex was written in a single night. The paleographic analysis of the text suggests that it was the work of multiple scribes and was likely completed over several years, not overnight. The manuscript's complexity, including its diverse texts and illumination, suggests it was produced over time, likely through a collaborative effort within the monastery. Scholars also argue that the devil's illustration should be interpreted as part of the manuscript's Christian symbolism, representing the cosmic battle between good and evil, rather than as evidence of a literal pact. Medieval Christian art frequently used such imagery to remind the faithful of sin's constant threat and the need for redemption, rather than suggesting the manuscript was created by diabolical forces. Therefore, while the myth adds a layer of intrigue, it is largely dismissed by academic scholars. The second theory suggests that the Codex Gigas was created by a single monk, possibly a scribe of extraordinary skill, who undertook the monumental task of writing the entire manuscript. The consistency of their handwriting throughout much of the text has led some to propose that it was the work of one dedicated monk who devoted many years of his life to completing the Codex. The theory supports the idea that the Codex represents a personal achievement, an artistic and religious triumph by one individual. The uniformity of the script throughout much of the manuscript supports the theory that a single scribe may have been responsible for the majority of the writing. Paleographic analysis indicates that the handwriting is largely consistent, suggesting that one individual may have been the primary scribe. This idea is reinforced by the manuscript's size and completeness, which suggests the work of an individual with both the skill and dedication to undertake such a monumental task. Additionally, the Codex's position within the religious tradition of the Benedictine monks, who were known for their transcription skills, lends weight to the theory that a monk of exceptional talent could have produced the work. The level of order and precision in the script also implies a highly skilled individual working alone to create a text of this magnitude. Despite the apparent uniformity of the script, scholars argued that the Codex was likely a collaborative effort. The scale of the work and the variety of texts, ranging from medical treatises to astrological charts, suggest that multiple contributors may have worked together on different sections of the manuscript. The Codex's illustrations, especially the detailed devil's image, would also require the involvement of illuminators beyond a single scribe. The physical demands of producing such a large manuscript, particularly with the use of parchment made from donkey skins, would have been difficult for one monk to manage alone. Furthermore, the changes in writing style throughout different parts of the Codex point to the involvement of multiple scribes. Thus, while the notion of a single creator is appealing, the evidence suggests that the Codex was likely produced by a team of monks working in concert. One of the more scholarly perspectives on the Codex Gigas is that it was created as a medieval encyclopedia, a comprehensive compendium of knowledge that was intended to serve as both a religious and intellectual resource. The inclusion of various texts, ranging from biblical scriptures to medical treatises and astrological charts, suggests that the Codex was not just a religious manuscript, but an attempt to compile a wide array of knowledge in one place. It likely served as an all-encompassing reference for monks, scholars, and clergy, providing them with access to spiritual, medical, and even cosmic wisdom. The diverse content within the Codex, including texts on medicine, astrology, historical records, and religion, strongly supports the theory that it was intended as a reference tool. Monasteries were intellectual hubs in medieval Europe, and the Codex Gigas was likely created as a resource for monks to use in their daily duties, both spiritual and practical. The medical texts would have been especially useful in treating the sick, while the astrological charts could have assisted in scheduling religious events or understanding the significance of celestial movements. The Codex ability to bring together sacred and secular knowledge reflects the medieval mindset that all knowledge, whether theological or practical, was part of a unified understanding of the world. While the Codex does contain a wide variety of texts, some scholars argue that it was not intended as a comprehensive encyclopedia. The primary focus of the manuscript appears to be religious, with the Bible being the central text and the other materials serving a secondary purpose. The inclusion of astrology and medical texts might reflect the medieval tendency to intertwine religious belief with practical knowledge, but it does not necessarily suggest that the Codex was intended as an encyclopedic resource. Some scholars argue that the inclusion of these other texts may reflect the interests of the scribe or the monastic community, rather than a deliberate attempt to compile all of medieval knowledge. The last theory suggests that the purpose of the Codex Gigas has been the subject of much speculation. One popular theory is that it was created as a monumental religious work designed to celebrate the power and authority of the Catholic Church. The Codex's sheer size and the central role of the Bible within it suggests that it may have been intended as a tool for religious devotion and as a means of asserting the Church's dominance during a time of great spiritual and political upheaval. The inclusion of the devil's image and exorcism rituals reinforces the notion that the Codex was a work designed to confront evil and bolster the authority of the Church in the face of both spiritual and worldly threat. The size of the Codex, nearly 3 feet tall and weighing over 160 pounds, suggests it was created for a grand purpose, possibly for display in a prominent location within a church or monastery. The inclusion of exorcism rituals and a detailed depiction of the devil points to the manuscript's spiritual focus, with an emphasis on confronting the forces of evil and reinforcing Christian doctrines. Some scholars suggest that the Codex was intended as a powerful tool for ecclesiastical authority, possibly used in public ceremonies or as a symbol of the Church's supremacy during a period of religious conflict. The devil's illustration, appearing prominently within the text, could serve as a stark reminder of the consequences of sin and the dangers of evil, reinforcing the Church's role in guiding the faithful through these moral dangers. While the Codex's religious focus is clear, many scholars suggest that its primary purpose was not to assert the Church's authority, but to serve as a practical resource for monks and religious scholars. The inclusion of medical texts, astrological charts, and other secular writings suggests that the Codex was not only intended for religious devotion, but also as a tool for intellectual inquiry. It may have served as a manual for daily monastic life, offering guidance on healing, astrology, and rituals, while also acting as a reference for religious texts. The Codex's focus on a broad range of knowledge indicates that its purpose may have been more about preserving and sharing knowledge rather than simply serving as a religious monument. Some scholars also point out that the devil's illustration could have been intended as a symbolic warning rather than as a representation of the Church's power. The Codex Gigas has been the subject of extensive scientific analysis, as researchers seek to understand its origins, materials, and purpose. Over the centuries, the manuscript has undergone numerous studies aimed at deciphering its construction and shedding light on its mysterious aspects. These analyses have provided valuable information about the Codex's age, authenticity, composition, and the techniques used to create such a monumental work. One of the key methods used in studying the Codex is carbon dating. This technique has helped establish a rough timeline for when the manuscript was created. In the early 2000s, carbon dating of the parchment used in the Codex indicated that it was likely produced in the early 13th century, around 1220, aligning with historical records and placing it firmly within the medieval period. Carbon dating provides a range of dates for the parchment's creation, helping to confirm the manuscript's authenticity and providing scholars with a clearer picture of when it was likely created. The parchment used in the Codex is made from the skins of approximately 160 donkeys, which has been confirmed through analysis of the animal hides. The meticulous examination of the parchment has revealed the immense labor involved in preparing the material, as well as the high level of craftsmanship required to produce a manuscript of such scale. This analysis also provides valuable insight into the methods employed in medieval manuscript production, showcasing the skill and precision of the scribes involved. The ink used to write the Codex has also been studied in depth. Researchers have used techniques such as microscopy and chemical analysis to examine the ink's composition. It has been determined that the ink is iron gall ink, a common type used in medieval manuscripts. This ink was made by mixing tannin, usually obtained from oak galls, with iron salts. Studying the ink offers valuable clues about the tools and materials available to the scribe, helping to confirm the manuscript's medieval origins. The illuminations and painted images, especially the full-page depiction of the devil, have also been subjected to pigment analysis. The colors used in the illustrations are based on mineral pigments, which were common in medieval manuscript illumination. The analysis of these pigments has helped determine the age of the artwork, confirming that the Codex Gigas is consistent with the artistic styles and techniques used in the early 13th century. In recent years, advances in digital imaging have provided new ways to study the Codex without risking damage to the fragile manuscript. High-resolution scanning and infrared imaging have allowed researchers to analyze the manuscript in greater detail. These technologies can uncover hidden text, corrections and alterations made by scribes, as well as offer a closer look at the marginalia and illustrations that may be invisible to the naked eye. One of the most significant discoveries made through digital imaging is the ability to uncover hidden layers of text, obscured by later additions or the natural aging of the manuscript. This technology also allows researchers to examine the structure and layout of the Codex in new ways previously thought impossible, deepening our understanding of how the manuscript was created and assembled. Despite the extensive research that has already been conducted, the Codex remains an object of ongoing study. Scholars continue to investigate various aspects of the manuscript, including its origins, creation, and purpose. New scientific techniques are being developed to analyze the manuscript further, such as DNA analysis of the parchment, to trace the origins of the materials used. This type of research could reveal whether the parchment was produced locally or imported from other regions, providing insight into the manuscript's production history. Additionally, researchers are examining the historical context of the Codex in greater detail, trying to piece together more about the monastic environment in which it was created. Discoveries about the Benedictine monasteries of Bohemia during the 13th century could shed light on the manuscript's purpose and the possible motivations behind its creation. Furthermore, there are ongoing efforts to digitize the Codex, making it more accessible to scholars and researchers worldwide and ensuring its preservation for future generations. The devil's illustration continues to be a subject of particular interest among researchers. Scholars have proposed many theories about the meaning and purpose of this image. Some argue that the devil's depiction serves as a moral lesson, warning readers of the dangers of sin, while others believe it was included for theological reasons, symbolizing the cosmic battle between good and evil. Advances in digital imaging are helping to clarify the details of the illustration and may provide further insights into its meaning and purpose within the Codex. The ongoing analysis of the devil's illustration also raises questions about the artist's intentions and the cultural context in which the image was created. Some researchers are focusing on how medieval Christian art depicted the devil and whether this particular representation aligns with common artistic themes of the time. The Codex Gigas, often known as the Devil's Bible, is a mysterious manuscript from the medieval period. Its massive size, diverse contents, and the striking image of the devil at its core continue to captivate scholars, historians, and enthusiasts. Over time, varieties of theories have emerged about its creation, purpose, and symbolism, ranging from the famous legend of a pact with the devil to more scholarly interpretations of it as a medieval encyclopedia. Through scientific analysis, researchers have gained valuable insights into the Codex's materials and authenticity. Techniques such as carbon dating, ink analysis, and digital imaging have confirmed its 13th century origins and revealed new aspects of its creation. Despite centuries of study, many questions remain unanswered, particularly about the identity of its creator and the full significance of the devil's illustration. The Codex serves as a symbol of the medieval belief in the power of knowledge, both spiritual and worldly, and the crucial need to preserve it for future generations. Benedictine monasteries in medieval Europe were centers of both spiritual practice and intellectual pursuit, and the Codex embodies this blend of the divine and the earthly. While the manuscript's exact purpose is still debated, it played an important role in the religious and intellectual life of its time. As digital imaging and ongoing research provide new insights, the manuscript remains an invaluable resource for understanding the medieval mindset and the intersection of religion, knowledge, and superstition. The Codex's legacy endures as a remarkable example of medieval thought, embodying both the devotion and curiosity of its creators. Although many of the legends surrounding the Codex Gigas have been debunked, its ability to intrigue and inspire remains undiminished. The manuscript's mystique, coupled with its historical significance, ensures that it will continue to be studied, analyzed, and admired for years to come. Whether as a religious artifact, a practical manual, or an artistic masterpiece, the Codex Gigas stands as a monument to the complexities of medieval creativity and thought. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the Codex Gigas, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more. Got thoughts or theories of your own? Drop them in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. And don't forget to check out the video description below for some interesting reads and resources about the Codex.